walk amongst us. You've witnessed their performances, you've celebrated their talent and cheered them on throughout the years. But do you know how they got there? Their trials and tribulations, their struggles and hurdles, and their determination, which has led to their success. Welcome to My Art, My Story, a web series brought to you by Arts and Culture Initiative of South Asia, also known as ACISA, where we sit down with your favorite local artists and get to know their story and journey a little better. I'm your host, Amin Dillon, and I'm joined right now by Anupa Kemindasa. Anupa, great to have you here. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good.
You're feeling good?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you. We're here to get to know you a little bit better. So could you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I came to Canada in 2004. And actually, before that, I'm born and raised in Sri Lanka. And I went to Europe in my late teens to study some cybernetics. And then I moved to Canada in 2004. And I've been living here as an artist, as a musician. I'm also a cellist. And I work in IT.
Oh, lots of diversity there. Perfect. So then let's get into it. How did you start your art journey?
Right. As a child, as a 2, 3, 4-year-old child, like I used to scribble and make drawings, and I was into art as a child. I'm not sure how that came into being. My dad was a composer, so he was in the arts, and he was just super thrilled about this, about my passion. And I remember him that he would kind of stick all the scribbles that I did on our living room wall.
Showcasing your work.
Yeah, so he was very, both my parents, my mom as well, and they were both encouraging, and so my dad sent me to art school when I was a child, and so that passion grew, and I was actively participating in exhibitions or competitions and stuff like that till I was about 12, 13 years old, and around that age it just suddenly totally stopped. I just stopped my visual art practice that I was doing, and I focused on my studies, and I got really serious with my studies, and music, of course. Music continued. Then in the late teens, I got a scholarship to study cybernetics in Prague, Czech Republic. So I moved to Prague, and I lived there till I got my degree, and then I worked there for a while, and all through that time, I was not, I was obviously going to museums, and I was interested in the arts in general, but I was not, I never got into painting, or I didn't participate actively. And then I moved to Canada in 2004, and my first years I felt really lonely here, and I wanted to find community, and so then that's how my passion revived. So I thought, well, I'll get back to my arts and try to find a community in the art world. So I went to a community art school, and that instructor, she advised me to go to the Toronto School of Art, and I took a few courses there with some great teachers like Tom Campbell, Martha Ellin, Thomas Henry, and then mainly I found this open life drawing session that happens at the Toronto Art School, and I found an art collective they call themselves Five Lovely Guys. They're not five. It's five is a fluid number there. And I found a social, like a art social life, and I found some great artists among them. And by that time, I was very actively participating. Like I said, I was really going to theater, trying to find an art community here.
That's so interesting that you had such a long gap where you weren't participating
no.
at all in art, right? You went from being so into it,
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
doing it for fun,
Yeah.
and then just stopping. And
Right.
then it was only until you came here and to find that sense of belonging. So it sounds like then it did bring you that sense of belonging,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yes, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so I'm, you know, since this was around 2008, I think. Since then, I think, I'm obviously always navigating myself in the field, but like, I'm quite actively participating now. Like I do paintings, drawings, but also installations. I did about 3 installations for Nuit Blanche. Like the last one I did was just for in 2020, last October. Um, yeah.
So it's been good to you.
Yeah.
Now, how would you describe yourself as an artist? Like if someone's never seen any of your work and asked, trying to picture what kind of work you do, how would you describe yourself?
Right. I would say, well, that's. I consider myself a visual artist, and yeah, but I kind of try to keep that open. Like I'm interested in a lot of forms. Like who knows? Like right now, I'm quite actively drawing and painting, but that might change in some time. Like I never thought I'll do installations. Like never thought. Like things happen because I'm interested in a certain thing at a moment, and I feel compelled to do that. Like the audiovisual installations, like doing videos, like yeah.
So then how do you find inspiration? Because it sounds like you're interested in a bunch of things. So talk to us about how do you get inspired?
Yeah, by looking around. Like I actively I go to museums. I travel a lot. Like I travel outside Canada. When I travel outside Canada, I'm most interested in contemporary art. I go to see art festivals around, like Venice Biennale or Documenta. I just went to see Documenta last year. Yeah, I try to get inspired that way, and of course, reading, seeing, and also just society, community, stories around myself, and looking at inspiring artists.
That's really cool. Okay, so I'm seeing so many of your paintings here, and I see so many different things that are would have inspired you. So can you walk us through your pieces here?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe I'll start with that one, which was at the exhibition.
The red one?
The red one. Yes. So that was actually. I painted this during during the pandemic. All my active art, the life drawing stopped. So I was like surrounded by my walls, and those lotus flowers on the red backdrop. That's a very traditional Sri Lankan motif in traditional Sri Lankan paintings. So there was a little panel that I had brought from a crafts market in Sri Lanka that was hanging on my wall, and so they generally have elephants carrying nobility, and it hangs in Sri Lankan people's houses, and like it's just so how to say, it becomes almost invisible because it's something that you expect in a Sri Lankan household. So I just wanted to give it a different story, and I wanted it to carry kind of people that have been marginalized and so it's a gay couple that is being carried on the elephant in this. And actually I kind of continued this series with other aspects of the Sri Lankan history, like we have a colonial heritage, and so I kind of continued these paintings, giving kind of telling different stories.
I was going to say, you're actually evoking a lot of different feelings because you have your Sri Lankan background. Then you also are making a comment about marginalized communities. And especially being South Asian, sometimes that is still something that has a stigma to it. So there's a lot of different messages. I got to ask you, was there something like an incident that you heard of or something that you saw that inspired you?
Um, Not an incident per se. I just, you know, uh, like like being a person of color and like you know living in Europe. Like I also face racism quite a bit. So you know we in a political environment. So so when I make something, I like it to have some sort of an impact. Um, yeah. I
So,
think,
from your background facing racism,
yeah.
you've now tried to convey that in your art.
Yeah, I certainly it's always in me. Like that experience is always in me. Um, yeah, and I like to do work that kind of like talk about marginalized communities.
But you know, the sense I get from it still is it's positive. Like,
Right.
it's a commentary about it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, because of the colors, I think,
Yeah.
I feel like you're making me feel hopeful.
I'm
That
glad you
let's
say that.
continue that. Is that what you were trying to go for?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
really interesting.
yeah.
See, I felt it. You have a Sri Lankan background, and you were saying you've faced racism before in other countries. And I think it's amazing that you found your home here, where Canada celebrates diversity and inclusion. And I think the fact that you have your Sri Lankan background and the fact you include your culture in your art, this is where I think the Sri Lankan community would even appreciate to feel represented on a mainstream art level. And that's why then it's great that you were able to be part of Vasa, which is, you know, like I think
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
artists sometimes do feel like they have to maybe change who they are to fit a mold. But
Right.
art should be everyone. Like, however
Exactly.
you want to express yourself,
Yeah.
there should be a home for that. So, what has your experience been like at Vasa and being able to showcase your art just the way you want it?
Right. Yeah, no, it was great. I was really happy and excited and grateful for being able to show my work. And I live downtown Toronto, and I just love that I could show my work in Brampton. You know, I like that's another thing in Toronto is that we live in these pockets and segments, and like I'm glad that they didn't confine that to like, for example, Brampton, like you know that they were open and getting this connection of artists and yeah, so yeah, that was great.
Okay. So, what can we do then to support artists like you, the community itself? If you have any ideas at how we can support you, what would they be?
Right. So I think one thing is that the demand for culture is quite low in North America, except few pockets like New York or you know places. So I think that's something that certainly can be improved if you go to Europe and even Asia, like even Sri Lanka. Like culture is part of you. Like it's cool to be cultured.
Yes.
Right. But not in North America, not in Canada. I think you know it's certainly improved. Like actually in 2004 when I came, I remember going to the AG Art Gallery of Ontario, and that was like oh my God, that was like 2, 3, 4, 5 people, you know. And today it's pretty busy, so things have moved. But you just have to actively promote art, actively promote culture. I mean, it's not just visual arts, everything like you know, theater, music.
So it sounds like the community can support artists like you by making sure they support cultural events,
Culture, yeah.
to make sure they come and support artists like you by
Exactly.
coming to your shows, buying
Yeah.
your pieces, because then it makes an environment where then there's a demand for it. So I think
Totally.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Also, let's talk about the future. So obviously, you've already created so many amazing pieces, but I know artists, they always have goals for themselves and they always have a way they want to evolve. So in the next few years, what are some goals for yourself?
Right.
Where would you like to see yourself?
Yeah, that's a tough. You know, I try not. I'm going to disappoint you. I try not to set goals.
You're in the moment.
Yeah, I'm in the moment, exactly. Okay, I want to be a good artist, and that's I don't, that's a, yeah. It's an open thing. Who's a good, yeah, that's my goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see where life takes you.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Amin Dylan, and today I'm getting to know Raina Sen. Raina, good to have you. How are you?
I'm excellent, Amin. How are you?
I'm good as well, and I'm excited because I'm getting to know your story a little bit better today. We've seen you performing all over the GTA, but I've never had a chance to sit down with you. So let's get to know you a little bit better. Tell me about yourself.
Okay. I'm delighted to be here and speaking to you. I'm so happy that I'll be getting a chance to tell my story to your audience. Yes, I'm super excited.
So tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay, so I come from a very humble background. I obviously come from India. That's where I was born, I was raised, and I had my education. And pretty much almost 20, 25 years of my initial years of my life was in India.
Mm-hmm.
Thereafter, I migrated to Canada. And so, well, funny enough, I never wanted to come to Canada because, in India you have the family support system and everything. You have a well-knit family that you have the support of each other all the time. So it was kind of a tough decision for us to migrate to Canada. But when I came here, I saw all the opportunities that was here.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I had a very, very fruitful life.
Mm-hmm.
Migrating to Canada, and that is what
brought you to Canada? What actually was the reason you came to Canada? Was it work? Was it family?
Migration, family.
Yeah.
So when your husband moves, you have to move.
That's true. That's
with
true.
him.
Usually you're a package deal, so that works. Okay, so your husband wanted to come to Canada, so you came to Canada. Now, what was your education background? What were you doing for work?
Graduate in honors English, and then thereafter, with my education, I also did my music.
Mm-hmm.
Music runs in my family, so I got my musicality through my mom, not from my dad, but from my maternal side.
Oh, so mom's side is the talented side. I love it. So did you grow up hearing your mom sing?
No, she was an excellent singer, but she was, those days, she was a very shy woman. She would not sing, but she would identify me. There was an incident wherein there was a beautiful Hindi movie wherein my mom, I was a toddler, I don't even remember that incident, but my mom and my dad took me to the theater, and when there were dialogues going on, I would not react. But when the songs were coming, I would just be crazily, shuffling and trying to push the tall man sitting just in front of my seat. So my mom thought, what's wrong with this girl? I mean, she's not, reacting to the dialogues, but when the songs are coming, she's absolutely going crazy. That means she has music sense. That means I should work on her music career. And she identified a very nice, learned guru.
Oh.
Yeah. And she put me to him to learn music.
Wow,
So
what a great opportunity.
Exactly.
So then how old were you when you started taking these lessons?
Well, I started very, very young. I think I was 9 or 10.
Wow.
So my first stage show was when I was 11 years old. So since my 11 years of age, I'm performing
And what
on
was
stage.
that first performance? What was it for?
It was, do you know Durga Puja?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a Durga Puja function. And it was a community hall that we were performing in. I mean,
Like 11.
not even a teenager.
Yeah.
So yes, and then I learned though it was, I wasn't nervous because nervousness and everything comes later on when you are, you have grown up in life a little bit more, you know the reality. When you are a child, you don't actually so much know about what's going on, what's not. So my mom put me to music. I loved music, so I started singing. So that's how it just started.
So then how often were you performing?
Well, so started from stage performance when I was 11 years old, and thereafter, for every competition, for every, like I would say, wherever there was an opportunity for me to go perform or to participate in a competition, my dad and my mom would make sure that I attend or I participate.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice to have the family support like that.
Absolutely. So that was the reason I never wanted to leave India and come to Canada, because I knew it would be a lonely life here initially, of course. But here I am. It's almost more than 20 years, and now I don't want to go back.
What was that moment where you decided, okay, from competitions to performing at community events to I'm going to pursue this professionally? Do you remember that moment when that happened?
Professionally, meaning
Like
for shows,
performing festivals, performing at functions.
shows, yes.
Yeah.
It's
Where you're getting paid.
yes. Now, so yeah, that also started very young.
Really?
Yes, when I was doing the stage programs. So sooner, like I mean, around maybe when I was a teenager, I was getting paid.
That's
So,
amazing.
Yeah. Then do you know about the All India Radio?
No.
That's All India Radio is a
Oh,
big,
yes, I've heard of it.
Yes, so I was a seasoned artist over there.
Oh, look
so I
at
used
you.
to.
So accomplished at such a young age.
Yes, yes. So my music career has
So-
been really, really blessed.
Yeah, and you were
Yes.
very much established in India, so now I understand why you're a little bit anxious about coming and starting fresh in a new
Exactly,
country.
exactly.
So, first of all, what did you know about Canada before you came here? Like, did you know anything about the singing scene here? I mean, you know, Canadians love, like, Bollywood especially. We love our Indian music, so you knew that coming here, right?
Not really.
Really? Okay, so what did you think about us? What were you going to walk into?
I thought maybe there'll be all, non-Indian people having businesses, having workplace, and everything would be pretty much whites or whoever, like not primarily Indian, where I would be able to sing for what I have been singing for so many years. So that was a big, question mark in my mind, whether I would be able to carry on with my singing career or not. So that was my biggest challenge when I moved. But when I moved, finally, then I came to know, with help of a lot of good friends, that, Bollywood has a huge market here. So there I am.
Yeah. What kind of songs were you interested in singing or known for singing? When we say Bollywood, right, that's a very big term, right? So were there maybe certain singers you look up to that you were performing their songs, or maybe songs from movies that you were especially popular with?
Everything in totality. Like, I was trained in classical music.
Okay.
Thereafter, Bollywood has such rich cultural heritage of itself that even when you listen to songs of Lata ji, Asha ji, Rafi Saab, Kishore Da, and so on and so forth, right? So you get to learn from them so much. Just by listening to the songs, you get to learn so much. Because when I moved to Canada, I had never had the opportunity to learn music, right? Which I always wanted to learn. But then since I was not in that sphere where I could learn music professionally or from a guru, my only recourse was to listen to these music. Listen to Lata ji, Asha ji, all the good songs, starting from ghazals, your classical, semi-classical songs. And that was my learning in a foreign country when I left India pretty young. So
you're learning from them, but in terms of songs that you enjoy performing, was there a certain style you enjoyed?
yes, as I said, it would be primarily Lata ji, Asha ji.
Oh, so you were singing their songs, which is, well, big shoes to be in.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Is there a particular song that is really special for you to perform?
for me?
One song, yeah.
Right now?
Yeah. Is there a song that for you it's like the ultimate song that you love performing?
Well, that'll be very, very difficult for me to just pick one song because there are so many. But if I have to just, whatever, this song is kind of a national anthem. People who love music. I doubt that there would be anybody in this wide world that would not be knowing, they don't have the idea of this song. So which goes like this. पास आए कि हम नहीं आएंगे बार बार बाहें गले में डाल के हम रोले जार जार आँखों से फिर ये प्यार की बरसात हो न हो शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो न हो लग जा गले से
That was beautiful.
I'm sure you have heard this song.
Yes,
right?
and I have goosebumps. Like, you performed that song amazingly. So then, when you came to Canada, then I'm excited because now you're in a new country. You pretty soon, I'm sure, realized how much are into our culture and how big of a South Asian community we have here.
Absolutely.
So what was it like that you land here? That first performance here in Canada, do you remember it?
Of course, I do remember, and I landed in 2001. So the first performance was 2002 for Valentine's, which was not. It was just about 2.5 months.
Yeah.
In those 2.5 months, I was lucky enough to get in touch with few wonderful people who would further my musical journey and connect me to the right people in the right fields. And so I bagged that first performance, and thereafter it's all history in Canada. Like, I never looked back. One opportunity after the other, the other came by.
But just to get your start here in Canada, you were able to reach out to key individuals. Like, this was something you knew you wanted to keep going, right?
Absolutely. And I was so happy to discover that, I can sing here. I can do stuff what I was doing in India.
Yeah.
It may just take some time for me to again get back on track, but of course I will. So there again I started, and I don't know whether you know about this competition, which is a Saregama World Series type of a competition wherein there are candidates and the contestants come from different parts of the world. Sometimes it could be in India, sometimes it could be outside India. So that was my biggest dream, to perform on that stage. It was back in 1995 when Sonu Nigam started this reality show. So to perform on that stage in that reality show was a dream for me, which I was, garnering from such a long time. I have to be on that stage. I have to be on stage. And so when I came to Canada, the dream was a dream still. There I got the opportunity to audition for that, and I got selected. So in 2004, I was the only one from Canada to have participated in that World Series Saregama Pa, which was held in Dubai. So, and I was on that stage, my dream stage, and that was a dream come true moment for me.
Okay, so then let's look forward now. So you've done so much already, but let's, in the next few years, are there any things on your bucket list, on your goals list that you're hoping to achieve that we should look out for?
Look, I'm working on 2-3 projects, which is going to be this year. I'm working on a classical project with a beautiful dancer from Toronto. And as and when the dates are scheduled or finalized, I shall share with everybody on the social media platform. So I'm really, really looking forward for that fusion, that collab with this dancer. So yeah, and I just recently have released my cover song, my first cover song. What I mean to say is that when back then it was not digital world, right? As you would know. I have performed in so many shows, given so many programs, but if you ask me, do you have any recording? Because back then we didn't have phones, you didn't record. So it's very rare to find those recordings, right? But nowadays, everything is on social media. So wherever you perform, you will definitely have a bite to show people, to show anybody you wish to, right? So that was, I, I wish those days when I started, if it was a digital world, then I would also have so many recordings of myself, so I can show to everybody. But I have everything in my memory. I have been through those experiences.
And you're still performing and you're still recording. So don't worry, just because you started out when there wasn't social media and a digital world, you're going to make up for it now. I think we're going to see lots of recordings from you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us.
It was my pleasure, and it was a delightful experience talking to you, Amin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm your host, Amin Dillon, and today I'm sitting down with visual artist Gabriel George. Well, hello, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good, and it's nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for
We
having
are
me here.
excited to get to know you and your journey a little bit better today on the show. So tell us, first of all, a little bit about your background.
So, hello everyone. I am Gabriel George, a visual artist. I'm from south part of India, a small state called Kerala. I moved to Canada in 2017. My wife was here before as a student. And when we got PR, we moved together. So, yeah.
And what were you doing in India?
I was working in films, South Indian movies, as
great
associate.
industry.
Yeah,
Very big industry.
true.
Yeah, what were you doing there in the films industry? What were your jobs?
I was working as associate art director in the art department. So I was there around 5 years working in the same industry. Before working as art associate, I was working as independent film publicity designer. So doing all the movie posters. So that was a kind of a challenging job.
Yeah.
I worked around 12 movies as
Yeah.
independent graphic designer. But while sitting in a closed space for a long period of time, it get me bored. So I thought to get into the film sets and work in the art department.
Of course, it's like such a huge industry with lots of different jobs. Is this something you always wanted to do, was work in films?
Before getting into films, I had a educational background in biomedical engineering.
Biomedical.
Yeah, there is no connection.
Yeah, there's no connection. Okay, so explain this.
Okay, so even while I was in my school days, I always liked to draw, paint, do something creative. As my father was an artist, his whole life career he lived and died like an artist.
What kind of artist was he?
He was doing more into oil paintings. More into interior of the churches, newly built churches, domes, big, large-scale works. So I used to see his works, but he never want his children to be in his path because he want something different. For a security reasons,
Yes.
it's hard to live as an artist in a place like India at that time. So my father we are three, and I have two siblings, my brother and my younger sister. So three of us are in engineering field. So so my father told me, okay, you can go with biomedical engineering. It will be safer in your life. So I take biomedical, but after completing the course, there was no initial pull for me to go back to work in that industry. So I thought I need to do something creative. This is not my area. So I was doing good with designing at that time. So
Graphic designing.
Yeah, graphic design.
But how did you get into that?
While doing engineering, I was studying graphic designing as well as a side. So after the fourth year, I am more happy to go with designing kind of things. So my friend introduced me to one of the leading graphic designer in films at that time. So I went to him, assist him for a few months, and then I got good connections with the films. And from there, I started doing my independent films as a poster designer.
So how long were you in the film industry for?
Total 7 years. 2
7
years
years.
as graphic designer and 5 years in art department.
And then what made you leave it?
In 2015, while my wife got PR, so we thought, okay, now it's time to move to another country and explore more there. Yeah. So
So then you moved to Canada, and then what were you hoping to do as a career? Were you hoping to maybe continue working in the film industry?
I tried to, but I don't know anyone here. It's a new place, new country, no much contacts, right? So I initially thought to go in the films, but it didn't that happen that much. Then to secure life, I joined Canada Post as a letter carrier. So I worked there 3-4 months. Then again, this art thing pulled me back from that. So I thought, no, this is not the area I want to do. So I resigned that job and tried to do something related to art. So yeah.
So once you quit your job, Canada Post, now you're in a new country, right? You've just quit your job.
Right.
How do you get back into the art world? What were you hoping to do? Was it graphics? Was it working on movie sets? Was it becoming a visual artist?
So by that time, I was doing a little bit freelance art direction for the commercials, which is happening here. I was okay with that, but I thought I need a real education in art, a solid education in art to go further from here. So then I applied to Oxford University in downtown Toronto as one of the oldest art universities in Ontario. So I got the admission, and now I'm doing my 3rd year in a sculpture and installation program. It's a 4-year graduation program.
Wow. So were you able to focus entirely on school, or were you? How would you financially support yourself? I'm sure this is the question that a lot of people deal with.
Right. So in between, in freelance, I'm doing graphic designing as well. So that helps a lot.
Absolutely.
And before joining the school, I was doing Uber, like for a living.
Yeah.
So at that time, I used to drop a lot of students and faculties, even at this university. So I need to ask them, what's happening here? How is the art industry works here? So they replied to me very nicely. So, okay, then I realized, okay, this is the place we need to be. I need to study in this particular place. So, yeah.
That's incredible. So you were driving Uber, right? And then you were like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? And then you just happened to come across a school where you now are enrolled.
Correct.
Yeah, it was all meant to be. So then let's go to working as a visual artist. So what was that like when you actually decided, okay, I'm going to pursue this career path. I'm taking my education, but then actually creating your first art pieces here. Tell us about that.
So I had, as I said, I had some experience working in the films. It was like, usually in Malayalam, towards the South India, we need to act like a magician in the set. They will be asking different things at the right time. So need to deliver the things and we need to make the things, build the things. So all these work experience helped me a lot to create art when I joined the university. So here I always try to get. I always try to add things together and make something from it. So I use a lot of recycled materials, upcycled materials. So one of the piece I created last year was collecting circuit boards from old televisions and painting an art piece on top of it. So I painted art. Okay. Can I talk? Can I? Yeah, okay. So collecting. I used to work with upcycled and recycled materials a lot. So I used to collect old television TVs and take electronic circuit boards from it and join together and paint first humanoid robot called Sophia. So that was one of the largest work which I did here in Canada. And in the last summer, for my first exhibition, that piece sold out to a public collector.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so tell me about what inspires you to make that work. Because, like, for example, the circuit board, like, I'm like, how do you even come up with that? That's really interesting. So what inspires you? How do you come up with these ideas?
As I have a background in biomedical engineering, we used to deal with all these circuit boards and creating all these things. So the circuit board was there in my mind somewhere. So when I tried to do the art, from this upcycled material circuit board, nobody using that material that much. And the humanoid robot called Sophia, it looked like human, but inside her head and inside the whole body is completely circuit boards and wires, all these things, right? So I thought, okay, I will, if I paint this particular humanoid robot on top of circuit boards, it's giving a different dimension to the work. So that's how that works happen.
But what's the overall message or feeling you want the end user to get when they see your piece?
While seeing that work, it's a new thing for them. Oh, why this image is on top of the circuit board? So they think. So the initial idea was even these humanoid robots now these kind of things are more popular, getting popular. Most of the industries, they are trying to use these robots more in their day-to-day works, right? So even they look like humans, but they are not real. They are not humans, right? So initially inside them, it's completely circuit boards and all these wires. So that kind of connection the audience will get while looking at the piece.
Are you going for one style of art, or does it vary piece to piece?
Not really. I use different type of materials all the time. So I am exploring different type of materials now. But once I landed with something which I am very comfortable with, then maybe from there I will go ahead. So now it's all a learning process.
So once you're finished with your studies, then you're going to pursue this full-time?
Full-time, yes,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
the dream, right? What is it actually like being a full-time artist here in Canada?
It's a big challenge for sure.
Yeah, why?
For a beginner artist like me, the opportunities, we need to go and fetch all the openings and opportunities, right? But as far as I know, Canadian government and the North American community is really supporting art and the artists really well. So that's a big hope for me to be as a full-time artist.
And what was it like? I know you were able to be an exhibitor at Vasa.
Yeah.
So what was that like, being part of that?
That was a great experience to be in Vasa last summer. To connect with lot of South Indian artists.
Oh, yeah?
To get in touch with a lot of local artists from our place. So to build the community. So all this really helps when I participated in that exhibition. Yeah.
And do you have a recommendation? So let's say there's other folks that are watching that would like to continue in your footsteps. Maybe they're starting off their journey, or maybe they're, kind of like in a transitional period. What advice would you have for them?
Keep doing. Even if you have some instinct inside you, keep doing the thing. Then it will reform you and you will reach somewhere. Like, only thing I do is keep doing.
Yeah, that's right. Just keep going after what you want. What is it like promoting yourself as an artist? Because, for example, like someone like you probably are used to creating and then exhibiting, and maybe you'll get to talk to some of the people that come to the show, but that's about it. Now you're actually on an interview here. You're talking about yourself, which is probably not something you do every day. So what is it like as an artist promoting yourself and having to do things like exhibit and do interviews?
Yeah, to be outside there in the real world is a big thing. So the people need to know about us, or the galleries need to know about an artist.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's a real thing. So to be part of different kind of community activities, and these like Vasa kind of, that kind of shows really help artists to be in the right place, in the right path, right? They always promote. As my advice, go for all the exhibitions around you, keep in touch with more artists and community things, then one day, yeah, you'll be there.
Great. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm your host, Amin Dillon, and today I'm sitting down and getting to know artist Zohra. Zohra, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you so much for having me, Amin.
It's amazing to have you here because I hear you have got a beautiful voice.
Thank
And
you.
before we give you a little preview of her voice, we're going to get to know you a little bit better. So let's start from the very beginning. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I was born and raised in Toronto. I have been singing professionally for 10 years, unprofessionally 30 years. and I sing Bollywood songs, covers, 1960s, 1970s of Lata Mangeshkar and Asha Bhosle particularly.
Oh, wow.
But I don't speak Hindi.
Okay, so you had mentioned this to me before, and I was like, how are you speaking these like classic, well-known Hindi songs, but actually not speak Hindi? How do you do that?
So first of all, I love these songs. I love Bollywood music in general, and I grew up listening to these songs thanks to my parents. And even though I didn't know the language, like I just loved the music. I loved singing along, and my parents encouraged me to kind of learn it, and they would teach me the words. And then when I grew older, like I would like listen to YouTube videos like repeatedly, trying to get the nuances and the pronunciation, the diction right. And yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Yeah. So being someone who's local, born and raised here, I think that's something that a lot of people can identify with, where you're very Canadian, right? You're exposed to, everything Canadian, but then you appreciate your South Asian roots. And then especially if you want to listen to Hindi songs or watch Hindi movies, I feel like sometimes people shy away from that just because maybe they aren't well versed in language, but you actually are now singing professionally in a language that you're not actually speaking at home. So what's your advice for people that are thinking, I would love to, watch movies or sing myself, but I'm self-conscious about my Hindi?
So I think no one starts off as an expert. Like I wouldn't even describe myself as an expert. Like it's all a journey. And if it's truly what you love doing and it's truly what you want to do, just pursue it wholeheartedly. There doesn't even need to be an end goal that perhaps maybe one day you see yourself performing professionally, but just doing it for the joy of doing it. That's always enough. And pursuing it wholeheartedly will always make you happy and will always make you feel fulfilled.
That's very good advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about now you singing. So did you grow up in a musical family?
Yes and no. So I grew up in a music-loving family, but none of my family are professional musicians. However, my younger sister is a professional dancer, an award-winning Bollywood dancer, actually.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, very talented family we've got here. So we've got you as the singer,
Yes.
your sister as the dancer. So
Yes.
I'm thinking collaboration.
There has been a collaboration, actually. So a couple of years ago during the pandemic, we had lots of time on our hands. We were both around each other, and we were inspiring each other. And we thought, why not collab? So I sang, and my sister and her dance partner, they danced to a Kathak classical piece on the song Sajda. And I'll show you the video. Maybe we can like air it and show everyone. But it was a beautiful production that we put our heart and soul into. And one of my favorite memories, I think, of the pandemic, being able to collaborate with my sister. Absolutely.
So that's interesting. So your sister dances
Yes.
Kathak, which is very disciplined, very classical
Oh,
Indian.
not just Kathak, Bollywood, hip hop.
Okay, so a mix.
Yeah.
But that's what I was like, it's interesting that both you and your sister have gravitated towards this classical genre, which is very difficult.
Absolutely.
So what is it about the genre that just really appeals to you?
I think it's just connecting with the culture. As you said, we grew up very Canadian. We do have Canadian roots, but we also have that South Asian culture, and being able to connect with that creatively has been so fulfilling for us.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get back to that first time when you went from singing at home, or maybe singing in the bathroom, or singing in the car, to actually having your first stage performance. Do you remember it?
Ooh, so like I said, my parents, they really, really encouraged me as a child. So all the school talent shows, our functions at our mosque, like I would be very, very involved in performing for them. So I think maybe I would say the first performance, probably when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Oh my gosh,
Definitely
you were so
singing.
young.
Yes, absolutely. And I
4 or
loved it
5,
even then.
It was your first time. Okay, so And did you feel like you just had a natural tendency to want to be on stage, or did you have some stage fright?
I think I loved it. Yes,
Yeah?
I can't remember a time in my life where I had stage fright particularly. Like I always loved performing, and when you're on stage and you're singing your music and you're in the zone, right? That's all that matters in the world. There's almost no time to be nervous or to panic or anything like that. Like you're just enjoying the music. You're feeling so much joy. You're feeling so much connection. You're in the zone. I feel like that's always kind of been the sentiment. For
Yes.
sure, while performing.
Yes. So what's interesting about you is you're juggling music along with your other endeavors as well. So you actually went to school for something else. Tell the viewers about that.
Yes, actually, I did my first degree in health science and then my second degree in biomedical science. So I have
I
a
love
science
that.
background. And I think it really complements the music background, having that science and that creativity. Absolutely.
So how do you juggle both then?
How do I juggle both? That's a good question. So my day job is in the science field, but over and above all that, I think my heart is definitely in music, for sure.
But so during the day, Monday to Friday, you're doing science, you're in your job. And then
Absolutely.
you're trying to then pick up, as an artist, gigs, right? So a lot of weekends. It sounds like it can be very tiresome and exhausting. So that's what I was saying. How do you juggle that schedule where you're not burning yourself out?
Yes and no. Like you would think that it would be tiresome and exhausting, but it's also so fulfilling and energizing and rewarding. So it doesn't even feel like work. Like even I'm very fortunate at my day job. I love my day job as well. So I never feel like tired or exhausted or burnt out. If I do feel a little bit overwhelmed, obviously I might take a step back and I might focus on myself. But honestly, being able to love what you do is so important. Absolutely. And it just feels so very fulfilling and rewarding. So it doesn't feel like work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zohra, so you've already done so much. I feel like, especially in the last 6 months, it seems like you've just been killing it. But let's look forward. So for the rest of the year, maybe you can let us know what are some of your goals, and then maybe in 5 years, what are you hoping to achieve?
Ooh. These are amazing questions. Oh my gosh. So I think for sure being able to collaborate more with the band and seeing where the band will go this year. So we are a young band. We're a new band. We're still finding our sound. So being able to develop that unique sound, being able to take all of our individual influences and combining them to produce our own unique sound, I think that's definitely on the agenda. Personally, I just want to continue enjoying what I do. I love that music is such a big part of my life, and as I said, like it's so fulfilling, it's so rewarding. I just want to pursue that more and make the most out of that for my own joy and happiness.
Oh, these are good goals. Now, I want to make sure that our lovely viewers get a little preview in case they didn't get to catch you at Vibrant Brampton. We always like to make sure they just know how talented our artists are. So could you maybe sing a few lines from one of your favorite songs for us?
Absolutely. लग जा गले के फिर हंसी रात हो न हो शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो न हो लग जा गले
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
How long does it take you to actually perfect a song like that?
Oh, I would never say that I've perfected songs. I think even now, even having performed for as many years as I have, it's still about learning and evolving. But definitely, particularly with Hindi songs, getting that diction, getting that pronunciation, which is still not perfect, a journey, but
I loved it.
thank you. I appreciate that. But also these songs are so like classically technical, so complex. So to be able to accurately capture those nuances, it is very time consuming, but again, it's a joy in the journey. Absolutely.
Now, I'm just thinking, I'm picturing being you and singing these songs by these legends, and like people really love these legends, right? Like people get emotional about them. And so I'm like, it's interesting when you sing your own songs, but when you sing a song done by someone else, especially a famous song, I feel like there can be that pressure to give it justice. That's what I was saying, like, perfected, because if you're gonna perform a song like that, you wanna make sure you sound just as good as them, right? And that people aren't like, oh, like, what did you do to this, like, classic song? Do you feel like you ever have this, like, imposter syndrome, or maybe this added pressure to be like, oh, am I, like, good enough to sing this song?
You know what, you'd be surprised, but yes, actually. I think, again, like not knowing the language fluently. And Hindi, of course, is such a complex language with syllables that don't translate in English at all. Very, very different languages. And then not even that, but like having Canadian roots, I do have my Indian heritage and ethnicity, but I would definitely describe myself as Canadian. So it's a whole different culture as well. So to answer your question, yes, there have been moments where, maybe you feel but at the same time, again, it's not about that. It's much more than that. It's about really loving and really being part of that journey and really loving the music, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that I think a lot of artists could identify with, that especially when they are doing cover songs, I always wonder if they have that pressure. And I always say, if you love what you do, just perform, right? I think sometimes you get into your own head and you put this, maybe unrealistic pressure on yourself that nobody else is putting on you, but you put it on yourself because you just really want to do justice to that performer, to that song, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So any advice you would have for folks that want to follow in your footsteps, right? And maybe they're nervous about their first stage performance or singing a song done by a legend. Any advice for them?
Just do it. Just do it.
It's so simple.
You know,
just do it.
The fear will be there. The anxiety will be there. These things will happen regardless. At the end of the day, you do what you need to do. You do what you want to do. You do what you love doing, and you'll always be happy.
I love it. I feel like we also need to make sure people can DM you and say, hey, can you do on a Sunday, take a request from the audience and do an Instagram live with the song. Do you do that?
Yes, actually.
I
did that over the pandemic, absolutely, on Facebook and a couple times on Instagram, yes.
I love that interaction. Okay, so if people want to do that, maybe there's a song that when they heard you singing, they're like, oh my gosh, she's totally got to sing this song. How do they connect with you?
So my Instagram absolutely is probably my primary platform. It's Zohra Kassam, my first name, my last name. And on Facebook, Zohra Kassam Music.
Okay, so reach out to her, of course, give her compliments. And if there's a song that you would like her to sing, I feel like you'll be more than willing to indulge. And hopefully
absolutely.
We'll see you on lots more stages in the future.
Hopefully. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for chatting with us. I appreciate it.
That was amazing getting to know some of your favorite local artists and their individual journeys. I hope you feel like you got to know them a little bit better in this episode of My Art, My Story. Now, a big thank you to all of our partners and sponsor, because without their generous support, none of this would be possible. So a big thank you to our main project funder of My Art, My Story, Canada Council for the Arts. A special thanks to all of our media partners, including Metroland Media Group, ATN, and Canadian Immigrant Magazine. A big thank you to our community partners, Downtown Brampton BIA, Brampton Library, Visual Arts Mississauga, Mississauga Music, the Peel Art Gallery Museum and Archives, Visual Arts Brampton, Brampton Arts Coalition Committee, Bose Arts Gallery, Peel Police, Stop Diabetes Foundation, Courtyard by Mary Brampton, and Bombay Bale Mississauga. And a big thank you to all of you for tuning into this episode. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode of My Art, My Story, the journey behind the art. We'll see you next time.